From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell. What has been a tumultuous weather pattern in the Northwest will continue to be so into the early part of this week as one atmospheric river funneled moisture into Washington, Oregon, into Idaho and western Montana over the weekend. Well, AccuWeather forecasters are warning that another storm will push into the region and will channel another round of flooding rain, wind, and high elevation snowfall. Communities along the Washington and Oregon coastline have already observed upwards of 2 to 3 inches of rain since Saturday as that first storm advanced into the region, with some locations cresting the 4-inch mark by Sunday morning. Forecasters are highlighting that additional rain is on the way as this secondary storm intensifies and pushes onto the coast. Some locations along the northwest coast are on track to observe more rain in a 2-day period than they have observed so far this month. AccuWeather meteorologist Jacob Henson said that the Pacific Northwest is not getting a chance to breathe amid this active atmospheric river pattern. The advancing storm has strengthened rapidly offshore and will be spreading yet more rain to the already soaked region. By the time the early week storm is done, total rainfall will rise to 3 to 8 inches from both storms in lower areas, upwards of 16 inches in mountainous terrain. As a result, concerns for river flooding remain very high, especially with the previous week's snow melting and contributing to that runoff. In addition to downpours impacting the coastal and foothill regions, forecasters are also highlighting a considerable danger for avalanches across the Washington Cascades over the upcoming days. The rounds of heavy rain soaking sloped areas weekly packed with snowfall could rapidly create a risk for avalanches from the upper elevations to the valley floors, and hikers are discouraged from venturing out given these stormy circumstances. While the peak risk has primarily passed, a high risk can still linger into the early part of this week in a lot of these locations. Additional snowfall is expected as the next storm advances into the region on Monday, particularly across the Cascade Range. Now, as this storm intensifies and continues to pummel the northwest coast today, AccuWeather meteorologists warn that an atmospheric phenomenon called a sting jet can occur. Now, this is a meteorological term that's been growing in popularity in the UK since the early 2000s, and a sting jet is a small area of intense winds that can develop underneath low-pressure systems, causing extensive wind damage. The formation looks like a bee's stinger or a scorpion's tail on weather satellites, while jet is short for jet stream, a corridor of high winds high up in the atmosphere. As Henson said, this low-pressure system is rapidly strengthening, and it will bring very strong wind gusts that parallel the coasts. We're expecting gusts of between 60 to 80 miles per hour along the coast, locations just inland and along the mountaintops. Now, more sheltered cities like Seattle could observe gusts in the 40 to 60 mile per hour range. The highest gusts will likely be along the border between Washington and Oregon, where a possible sting jet could increase winds even further. Wind damage is likely during this event, with power outages and downed trees being the most common through tomorrow morning. Now, by Tuesday afternoon and into the evening, the storminess is expected to wane across the northwest. These gusty winds will taper off and rain will cease across the region, leaving most locations dry through the remainder of the work week. Farther south, from Southern California into New Mexico, residents will be observing a much different weather pattern this week. Temperatures will be on the rise across the Four Corners and desert Southwest, with some locations expected to crest the 90-degree mark for the first time this year. Locations like Phoenix and downtown L.A. will be among some of those sites at risk for reaching 90 by midweek. And a few locations will even be in jeopardy of tying or surpassing their daily temperature records by Wednesday. That's all for now. You can find more stories and regional forecasts at AccuWeather.com. And for your local forecast at your fingertips, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. I'll be back tomorrow with more from AccuWeather.